Hey guys, this is Matt and Sarah from Amateur Filmies and welcome back to a brand new video.
We've got a lot of movies to show off today and we hope you enjoy.
Feels good to be back in front of the camera with you, Sarah. It has been a while since we did a video together. I think the last one probably was the last Blu-ray haul, actually, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was the giveaway announcement.
Oh, yeah, true. But yeah, it feels good to be back in front of the camera again. We've been really busy the past few weeks. That's why we haven't been as active on YouTube, just with family-related stuff and uni-related stuff. So with these Blu-rays that we're going to be showing off, we actually have an interesting story with them. So we actually haven't been participating in too many sales recently. The most recent one we participated in was the Arrow Easter sale, but we only picked up 4 or 5 things from then. And we do plan on participating in the Vinegar Syndrome sale that's coming up. But apart from that, we don't really plan on buying too much stuff online. And that's because we've actually, over the past couple of months, have slowly been acquiring another person's collection as they've decided to sell their collection. We'll be having a few videos showing off what we got because we have stuff from Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome, Scream Factory. We're going to split them up into different types of videos and we'll show them over the next few weeks or however long.
Because there's so much of it.
Yeah, because there is so much, yeah. We pretty much have made it so we're pretty set for like the next quite a while.
Yes.
I don't think we'll be needing to buy much from sales anytime soon, just because we have been getting so much from this guy named Craig who's been selling off his collection. So we're really thankful to him that he was able to, set up great deals for us and, gives us a lot to show off on camera. So
thank you, Craig.
I did bring it up because the majority, if not all of what we're about to show is part of what we bought from him. So enough rambling, let's get into it now. As per usual with these huge Blu-ray hauls, and because we've been so busy recently, there are going to be a decent amount here that we've yet to get through as far as watching them. We have watched a number of them and of course we'll talk about them as we show them, and because there's so many here, we won't spend too much time on each of them. I just wanted to give that as a heads up as we go into this video. But the first one we're going to be showing here is a DVD. And this one is one I haven't seen yet, but I'm really excited to watch it, is Ex-Drummer. Now, I've been wanting to watch this film for years. I actually even had a cheeky copy on my hard drive for quite a long time, but I've heard great things about this movie. And yeah, as I said, can't wait to finally watch it. So the next one's also a DVD. And again, another one I was super stoked to be able to finally get. This is Man Bites Dog. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of this film. This was actually released on DVD by Criterion as well, but I was just happy to be able to get a copy and finally watch it. I actually watched it last night. A mockumentary. It's a dark comedy. Basically, a film crew follows around a thief and a killer, and you sort of see what a day in the life of this absolute madman, psycho guy does in his day-to-day life. And it's quite a good movie. It's 100% not for everyone. There's a lot of really dark aspects to this movie, but it's actually littered with a lot of quite funny moments. I felt bad for laughing at a lot of the parts, but yeah, I would recommend this. But again, as I said, not for everyone. But yeah, really, really cool movie. Finally glad to have crossed that one off my list finally. And the last DVD in this haul is another one that is absolutely bizarre. It seems like there's a common theme going on here, but this is Happiness. And again, another one, I had heard about this film years ago and about how messed up it was. And I got around to watching it and it is as messed up as I thought it was going to be. Again, similar to Man Bites Dog, it's got a lot of really dark comedy in it, but I can't, it's so hard to reconcile that with the events that happened in this movie. I want to say that I enjoyed it because there were parts, as I said, that I laughed at quite a lot, but again, I can't really recommend this to everyone because it's just that offensive in so many places that, yeah, I don't feel comfortable saying that everyone should watch this movie, but it was an experience, I can say that much.
So we have a really beautiful release of The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro's most recent movie. Now, we haven't seen this since it came out at the cinemas, but I remember loving it. It's not just like a regular Guillermo del Toro monster movie, I loved it because it was a beautiful romance drama as well. The thing that I loved most was definitely the set design and the entire production design was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I can't wait to rewatch this one.
So we've got 2 more 4Ks to quickly show. We've got John Wick, and you may have guessed, John Wick 2.
They look stunning, don't
Yeah,
they?
I actually really love the slipcovers on this. Glad to be able to add these to the collection. I've seen them a bunch of times. They're great fun. Just need to get the third one on 4K or Blu-ray now as well. But yeah, these are always great to watch with people as well. I think you haven't seen these for quite a while, have you?
No, I haven't seen those 2. I've seen the third one though. That was really good.
I'll see, watching things out of order again.
I know. As we're looking through Craig's collection, picking out the films that we wanted, 2 stood out to me and I was really excited to find these on Blu-ray. It is Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead. And these are both by Romero. to be honest, they're not his greatest works.
Definitely not.
He definitely went downhill after, I would say, the 90s, I think. It's safe to say. But still really good zombie movies. I love them regardless. And the production design on all of them. And yeah, they're sort of like guilty pleasures of mine, even though the social subtext and the metaphors behind them are a little too painfully obvious. I still love them nonetheless.
This next release is a double pack actually, and I didn't mention this before, but a lot of these are actually German editions or for other foreign releases, and this is one of them, but they always have English audio options. This is a double pack, Laid to Rest and Chrome Skull Laid to Rest 2. I've seen the first one, but it's been years. Like, I'm talking like back in when I used to still go to the video shop days. I remember, and the thing, I remember I got the first one, I really liked it, and I would always walk past Chrome Skull, and I'd always take note of it because it had the picture of the skull on the front, and I always found it intimidating. But it'll be good to finally check out the sequel and also give the first one a rewatch, because as I said, I do remember quite liking them. So, and I don't believe you've seen these, have you, Sarah?
No, never heard of them.
Yeah, so we'll probably watch these two together, but yeah, glad to have that. Next Blu-ray we have is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I'm actually in the middle of writing a review for this one, like for a future video. I'm really excited to talk about this one. This is a dark film, if you couldn't tell by the title, but it's a really, really great one. If you like your really dark, sort of gritty, thriller, serial killer type movies, I don't know if that's too niche of a thing, but this is a really good example of that sort of subgenre done right. I think this is a really good movie.
So this movie was actually one that we gave away during a competition, like brand new obviously, and we realised we didn't have a copy of it for ourselves. So we picked up The Nightingale by Jennifer Kent. And this movie, I think we've expressed our thoughts on it in the giveaway video, but it's so gritty and it's so dark, but it's such a thrilling revenge tale. And the setting, you've got to admit, like the Tasmanian wilderness in the 19th century is so brutal, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Definitely recommend, especially if you're a fan of period pieces as well.
So this next release is from Real Gore Releasing. I like that name. This is Masks. Now, I picked this one out specifically because I apologize for not remembering who, but I remember someone on YouTube saying that this was a really good example of a modern giallo, like a modern horror film that sort of isn't heavily inspired by giallo films. Really looking forward to checking it out. And this one's actually limited edition. We got number 2,239 out of 3,000. So yeah, hopefully it's good. As is usual with our Blu-ray hauls, there is always going to be one massive movie that I finally get and have to admit that I've never seen it before. And that still rings true. This is the original, The Wicker Man. I cannot tell you how long I've been wanting to watch this film. I've heard nothing but praise for this movie. I haven't even seen the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man movie.
With the bees.
Although I have seen plenty of highlight reels from that movie. But yeah, really happy to finally grab this one. This will probably be the one that we watch next, I reckon.
Definitely.
And it feeds well into the next movie that Sarah's about to show.
We have Ari Aster's second masterpiece, Midsummer. I was so happy to get our hands on this because it is the director's cut and it features over 20 minutes of unseen footage. It's supposed to give like a bit more context to the community that is in Midsummer without giving too much away. Can't wait to watch the director's cut and can't wait to watch The Wicker Man as well and sort of see how the parallels are drawn. But yeah, can't wait for that.
Next up is a release by Shameless, and that is Mountain of the Cannibal God. I did talk about this one a decent bit in our last video, which was an overview of our Shameless video collection. So if you're interested in hearing more about that and sort of seeing what else is in our collection of Shameless films, definitely check out a video. I'll try and link it somewhere. But yeah, not too bad. So I grabbed this one, even though I knew that there was a Screen Factory edition of it. I think it may be out of print now. I'm not too sure. So I figured I'd grab this because I've been wanting to watch it. This is Lord of Illusions, written and directed by Clive Barker. Next up, we have a really cool looking steelbook. This is the It Man trilogy. Really like the design on this one, especially the back looks great. But yeah, I quite liked it. I did like it enough to want to check out the second and third one. So I think there's even a fourth one that came out like last year or the year before. So but maybe I'll even get to that one. I'm not sure. But yeah, glad to have the trilogy and to finally say that I've seen the first one because my brother had been hounding me to watch it for a while now.
So after we hosted a giveaway competition, I wrote down a list of all the movies that were sort of recommended to us by the entrants, and a lot of them were sort of black comedies, and I've ordered a few weeks ago and they're just sort of like slowly starting to show up now. But what I have got here is Doghouse, which is supposed to be a very funny zombie movie, And I could only get this in a double pack, but I'm really keen to own both of them because I realised we didn't have Black Sheep on Blu-ray. We have Black Sheep, the New Zealand movie, and Severance. And I'm really keen to watch all three of these again. I mean, watch Black Sheep again and watch the other two because I love a good black comedy and they're supposed to be pretty gory, so I can't wait for that.
I actually never thought that we'd end up owning these two on Blu-ray anytime soon at least, and I'm really happy to have them because I've heard great things about one and terrible things about the other. So the one I've heard good things about is a Synapse release of Just Desserts, The Making of Creepshow. And we love Creepshow and Creepshow 2, but I have not heard a single good thing about this movie, but I couldn't pass up owning it and checking it out for myself. This is Creepshow 3. And I don't know, maybe you'd be like me, but I did not know that this even existed for a long time. I've only known about it for like a year, but never really sort of worried about tracking it down because of all the bad things I'd read about it. Someone likened this to sort of more like a Goosebumps episode.
Oh no.
But I liked Goosebumps back in the day, so who knows?
We have the movie Excision with Annalyn McCord. She plays this sort of deranged teenage girl who wants to get into medical school, and throughout the course of the movie she does very disturbing things. It's a really off-putting movie, but it's definitely worth a watch because it feels very original. Like, it feels like a good concept, but very, very disturbing. Just a warning.
So we have another double pack here actually, and this was a double pack that was put out by Code Red, and I'm gonna have to try and remember these titles because they're so long. House on the Edge of the Park and Last House on Massacre Street. Again, like with a couple of these, I'd heard about House on the Edge of the Park a long time ago. It was one of those ones where it was always really hard to track down, at least at the time that I was interested in getting it. And I heard it was just one of those really sort of controversial exploitation flicks from like the 70s. I think it came out in like the late 70s, but yeah, I think David Hess is in it as well. If I'm not, because there's a lot of movies with similar titles to this, and I always get them confused. I'm pretty sure House on the Edge of the Park is the one with David Hess. Looking forward to finally watching that one after so many years of knowing about it, and of course, eventually, I guess I'll check out Last House on Massacre Street too.
So we found this release, and it is The Bay. It's a really cool steelbook, actually. It's a German release. We watched this when the quarantines were sort of, and self-isolation was at its peak. And, peak drama for the virus. And it was really scary watching it because obviously it's a different type of infection type of movie. But it was really horrifying to watch, and the production design on it was really good. I think the acting wasn't necessarily super strong, but overall it was a really good concept of a movie.
Like, I could see that, the acting was okay, and it did feel a little bit amateurish at times.
Yes.
But you could also sort of, on the whole though, you could see that they had a really good idea, and I think at the end of the day it was put together quite well, especially considering it is, I think, a lower budget movie anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, I think good effort to them, I reckon. So this next one was actually a blind buy. I saw the packaging and I was intrigued because it sort of looked like it would be a Giallo type film, and I wasn't mistaken. This is Curtains. Haven't watched it yet, but the thing that caught my eye apart from the cover was the fact that Samantha Eggar is in it as well. And I just really recently watched her in The Brood, directed by David Cronenberg, and also in The Exterminator, which I watched for the first time. And I looked it up. It's been received quite well, and I liked the idea of the plot. Basically, 6 actresses, they go to a mansion to audition for a type of movie role, but then they start getting hunted down by a masked killer. So, yeah, definitely wanted to try it out. And this edition looks cool as well. It's actually limited to 250. We got number 166. I don't know if that's coming up.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
So we went searching for this film on streaming services, couldn't find it anywhere. And when we went to Craig's, we found it, and we could finally watch it with my family. And it is all 3 Blade movies. And if you want a reason to collect physical media, this would be it, because it wasn't on any streaming services. It could have been taken off in weeks. So, this is something that we can rely on. And it's a brilliant set of movies. I especially love Blade Trinity. It's one of my, my go-to favorites.
Oh, Jesus. I know you're going to get flamed for picking Blade Trinity of all of them, out of all of them.
They're all great.
Yeah, I didn't care what anyone says. I love the Blade movies. Next up, we have another Blu-ray, which I think is actually hard to find nowadays. This is Existence, directed by David Cronenberg. who, as you guys all know by now, I absolutely love. Funnily enough, my mum would always rave about this movie. She absolutely loves it. And yeah, I did quite enjoy it. I think it came out around the same time as The Matrix, actually. And maybe I've heard some people say that that sort of overshadowed it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the performances are great. Jude Law's really good. It's weird to think, like, I think he was like 26 in this movie. But yeah, he plays a really good role, and so does Jennifer Jason Leigh. And this is another one, as with a lot of other Cronenberg films, where like I really like the concept of the movie. Won't go too much into the plot, but basically it's about a type of gaming device thing which hooks into your spinal cord, and you sort of experience like a different reality that is supposed to be a game. I know it's very vague, but really, really interesting concept. I think it's not my favorite from him. I would sort of say it's a little bit above average. There were definitely some points where I thought maybe it was a little bit too ambitious, but on the whole, I really enjoyed my time with it.
So this next one is John Carpenter's greatest movie. This is The Ward. No, it's actually very extremely average, this movie. It has a pretty decent twist, but at the same time, the twist doesn't make sense.
We didn't own it in our John Carpenter collection, so we figured may as well grab it while we can. Have a bit of an interesting pickup with this one. This is a franchise there up until only a few weeks ago. I hadn't seen any of them, and I'd, again, always heard about it. It's not the most popular franchise out there, but I know that a lot of horror fans can say that they've at least seen one of them, but I hadn't. And this is the Leprechaun franchise. This is the, I think, 7-movie collection.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
There's 7 of these, but I think that there is actually a newer one that's not included. I haven't heard the best things about all these movies, but I've heard they're cult favorites. I watched the first one, and it was a fun time. Like, I can't deny that. Warwick Davis was the best part of the movie for sure. But
Not Jennifer Aniston.
Not Jennifer. Well, she was all right too, actually. You can tell that she's a decent actress at the time. I think it was like her first movie role even. But yeah, I will watch the other ones. Not in a rush to watch them, but yeah, it was, as I said, it was a fun time.
So this next one is Black Christmas, and this is the 2006 remake of Black Christmas, not the 2019 one, which is an absolute abomination. But yeah, this movie is a complete shit show, but I really loved it. It was very gory, and the plot with the killer, it was extremely convoluted and very camp. I thought it was a really worthy sort of horror slasher remake if you're into the sort of like the trashy slashers.
So this next Blu-ray is Blood on Satan's Claw. And I'm really happy to own this one, actually, because I know I first found out about this movie when Severin did their like ultra limited edition of the movie. Really excited to watch this one. It's an early 70s English horror film. I don't know if I already said that, but heard really good things. I think it's either to do with a cult or witches or both. Next up, we have the original Cape Fear. I'd seen the remake, Martin Scorsese's remake of Cape Fear like 5 or 6 times now, I reckon, with Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte. Excellent movie, and Juliette Lewis as well. You haven't seen it, have you?
No.
I think you'd really like it, actually. And I figure I've seen the remake, I haven't seen the original, which is almost a crime in itself. So I figure what better way to actually finally check it out. And I've heard really good things about this. Robert Mitchum's performance is apparently brilliant as well.
We have Eden Lake. And no film has ever made me so angry in my life. This was incredibly frustrating. A couple go out camping or they go out on a holiday and they run into a group of teenagers. Things escalate from there. Can't go into too much detail. It is the most frustrating and intense movie you'd watch, I think. Incredibly brutal. And I can't wait to rewatch it and be angry all over again.
This is another movie that I've been waiting ages to get my hands on. And again, similar to one of the ones I showed at the start, I had this on my hard drive for a while, but never got around to watching it because I wanted to own it physically. But I finally own The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover, starring Michael Gambon, Tim Roth, and Helen Mirren. It's directed by Peter Greenaway, and the reason that I wanted to check this movie out is because when I was sort of coming off the high of watching Hereditary for the first time and, you know, learning about Ari Aster and his work, I read some interviews where he talked about how the director Peter Greenaway had influenced him and how specifically this movie had influenced certain scenes in Hereditary as well. Apparently the director's known for having like a really distinct cold tone in his films. That bleak style, it really appeals to me, and just hearing Ari Aster talk about how much it impacted him as a child and how it, you know, influenced his future films, I figured let's just dive straight into Peter Greenaway's filmography, and what better film to start off with than the one he's most known for, I think, anyway.
We finally have a Blu-ray edition of the Last House on the Left remake. Personally, in my opinion, a lot better than the original. The original is great and gritty, but this remake sort of brings it into that modern context. The production quality and the plot just feels a lot sharper. and the acting as well.
I can understand why some people would prefer the remake, and I think to a certain degree I actually do as well, but I view the original as being a really good example of that sort of early 70s grindhouse exploitation era. And
yes,
like some people, I know some people criticize the remake because it doesn't, it gets rid of that gritty sort of low budget feel in favor of a more Hollywood sort of, blockbuster budget oriented movie. They're in different categories as far as, what sort of situations you'd want to watch them in. But I think it's a worthy remake as far as it being just a good movie on its own, if that makes sense. So these next two films I got because I needed to fill the gaps in our collection from this particular franchise of the only two that were missing. The first one is Hellraiser Revelations and Hellraiser Judgment, with cheeky little slip on it as well. This one, I've heard people be pretty mixed on Judgment. I have people, as far as I can tell, hate Revelations, but you know what, like I really like the Hellraiser movies. I know, Sarah, you're not super keen on them.
Nah.
I really like them. I think they can be quite unique, even the sort of the later ones, which admittedly are pretty terrible. I think I'm that familiar with the franchise where Revelations, I don't think is going to offend me too much, because I've sort of, with the Hellraiser franchise, the further into it you go, the lower your expectations. But I like the characters anyway. And I think this is the first Hellraiser movie where someone other than Doug Bradley portrays Pinhead. As I said, Hellraiser Judgment is supposed to be one where more people like it than don't, as far as I can tell. So I'm keen to get through Revelations so I can actually get onto the one that I'm more likely to enjoy, which is Judgment.
So we thought we'd pick up these two, The Strangers and Strangers 2, Prey at Night. The Strangers, the first one is a very chilling and dark home invasion movie. I remember sort of being... there was an element of sadness to the first film and like tragedy. And the second film, there is still a lot of seriousness to it, but it feels a lot more blockbustery, sort of like slashery, like camp in a way. The stakes don't feel as high, even though there's a family put in a similar situation to the first family. I just don't think the emotional depth was there in the second film. Overall, two really good slasher movies.
This next movie is our first release by Mondo Macabro, actually, and this is Who Can Kill a Child? Pretty dark name, but a great movie. Similar, I guess, if you had to compare it to something, the easiest comparison would be to something like Children of the Corn. In particular, I was actually surprised with how good the acting was. One of the big positive things I can say about it is its sort of ability to, bring about that isolating feeling. I do really highly recommend this movie. I actually was just surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I look forward to watching it again with you as well, actually.
Here we have Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. And this is one of the few action movies from my childhood that I still remember and I still love, because it's just so unique. I mean, the concept is absolutely ridiculous, but I really loved how sort of emotionally compelling it was to watch this film as a child. I don't know why it stuck with me so much, but it did, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Here we have a really interesting release, actually, as far as the actual Blu-ray goes, but this is Bram Stoker's Dracula. And this is the one that I know a lot of people have seen. This is the one with like Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, I believe. It's directed by Francis Ford Coppola as well. For some reason, I have a memory of watching this in English class, although I don't remember how appropriate it was, because that's the only time I've seen it. I've only seen it the once, and I feel like it was in that English classroom context, so I don't know. I kind of remember Keanu Reeves acting sort of feeling a bit weird, but again, I can't really judge it because it has been like 8 or 9 years since I've watched this movie, but definitely thought I'd want to watch it again.
And so we have Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I'm a bit ashamed to say I've never seen this film, but I really want to watch it because of the influence that it has on so many other films and the influence it has on pop culture as well.
So this next one is The City of Lost Children. The reason I wanted to get it is because I remember hearing that title and I looked it up, and just reading about it, it sounded really interesting to me. Like even the plot on IMDb, I'll quickly read it out. A scientist in a surrealist society kidnaps children to steal their dreams, hoping that they slow his aging process. So I thought it was a really unique sounding plot, and I also remember like seeing stills of the movie, and like the imagery just looked really, really like captivating and interesting. So I figured, why not give it a go? It's also got Ron Perlman in it, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's actually a foreign language film. I don't know if he speaks English in this movie. Apologize if I'm wrong on that front.
When I found this film, I was so excited to show it to Matt. We'd finally completed our Grindhouse sort of collection, and so this is I Drink Your Blood. and I absolutely love this edition. It's so like hypnotic in a way. It's about a bunch of hippies who are tripping on LSD, and I believe they turn into cannibals and they start drinking people's blood. And I can't wait to watch this one. It actually features the young girl from the original Crazies with George Romero. So yeah, really can't wait to watch this one.
Some more exciting additions to the collection finally. We have 2 new Dario Argento films to add. So we've got The Card Player and Mother of Tears. Now, Mother of Tears, of course, is supposed to be the last of the 3 Mothers trilogy. So we've got Suspiria, Inferno, then Mother of Tears. This one came out like in the mid-2000s actually, and I think it even stars, Asia Argento. And while I haven't watched that one yet, I did start watching The Card Player last night, and it's this one, as we've talked about in the past, it has come out in that sort of part of Dario Argento's career where you could argue that his films have started to slope down in quality just a little bit, and it is quite evident in this film. But I like the concept, and, I'm excited to see where the plot goes. I like Argento, but the movie is still not the greatest. But, maybe it picks up a bit later on in the movie.
So this is another one I'm ashamed to say that I haven't seen completely. I've seen most of the first movie, and that is the Hatchet series. I know that recently, or in the last 5 years, there was another Hatchet movie released. What's the name of it?
I think it's Victor Crowley. I've only seen the first one, and I actually really, really liked the first one.
I sort of compare it in my head to sort of the Wrong Turn series. The thing I love most about, especially like the first movie, I just remember the set, and I've always wanted to visit like that part of America. So yeah, we're going to get stuck into these.
Yeah, definitely. So similar to the 2 Hellraiser movies I showed before, these next 2 were ones that I needed to help fill out the franchise collection that we owned. So the first one is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, and Texas Chainsaw, I think 3D. It's the one with Alexandra Daddario in it. I've seen both of them. I definitely prefer The Beginning, although the ending of that movie still pisses me off.
Absolute bullcrap.
I could rant about that, but I'm not going to. Texas Chainsaw, I've only seen it the once, and I remember sort of thinking it was kind of below average. The only Texas Chainsaw movie I haven't seen is the 3rd and 4th one. But yeah, glad to have these ones, and when I eventually get my hands on the 3rd one, we'll have like a little marathon, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Then we have the Starship Troopers trilogy. I'd always grown up with the first Starship Troopers movie, and I absolutely loved how gory it was. And the effects, even though they're pretty questionable by today's standards, the look of the bugs always terrified me. And I know my little brother was the biggest fan of like even the sequels of these movies he watched. So I've only seen the first one, but I can't wait to get stuck into the 2nd and 3rd. I don't have high hopes for them. I believe this is directed by the same man who did RoboCop, and you can really tell because they have very strong comments on like capitalism and society, and in this one I think it's like the military industrial complex. So it's a really interesting like sort of aside in this movie.
It is really cool. I keep forgetting that he directed that too. Yeah, that's awesome.
So this one is Citizen Kane by Orson Welles. Now, I know this is meant to be like one of the magnum opuses of Western cinema. I've never seen it before. The only thing I know about it is that in The Simpsons, they go to the museum and they have a look at the Kane from Citizen Kane. That's the only reference I know to it. I know it's supposed to be great, but we do need to watch that.
When I was showing off the Wickerman, I said, there's always one popular movie that I haven't seen that I'm showing off and admitting that I've never watched. I should have saved that for this one because I feel I'm very ashamed that I haven't watched this movie.
Yes.
I've heard so many people talk about the significance of Orson Welles and his work, and Citizen Kane, as Sarah said, is like considered one of the best movies ever made. So yeah,
I'll check it out. I guess.
I'll check it out if I can fit it in. So the last edition that we're going to be showing off today is absolutely gorgeous. I love this edition, and we actually, as soon as we got it, we watched this one because I've been hyping myself up for ages. I'm not even going to pronounce the director's name because that's a task on its own. This is Possession. Yeah, it's got Sam Neill in it, and it came out in the early 80s. What a trip of a movie.
Yeah.
I know, Sarah, you weren't super keen on this one when we first watched it.
It was extremely painful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, like, brilliantly acted.
Yes.
It was fantastic, and, like, just the way it sort of explored, like, the toxicity of, abusive relationships and, like, codependency and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on. Just, yeah, it's a really, really interesting movie. I don't know that I have a full grasp of the movie after just one viewing. I think on a second viewing, I'll know to look out for a few more things. But I had a lot of fun like trying to analyze it as I was watching it for the first time, because it wasn't what I expected, but like not in a bad way. It was just very unique. Surprised me with like how, you know, ambitious and experimental it was in some ways. So definitely worth a watch. Again, not for everyone, but I can't deny that this is a well-made, well-performed movie for sure. So that brings us to the end of the Blu-ray haul. As usual, thank you so much for watching. If you got through to this point, we realize this one's probably going to be a long one. Again, I know I said it at the start, but I do apologize for, you know, showing off some of these movies and not having too much substantive things to say about them. You can imagine with, you know, the amount of movies we've gotten, it's hard to sort of keep on top of them and, you know, watch them all in time for a new video. But, you know, we're looking forward to watching all the ones we haven't seen yet, because, yeah, a lot of these we've been excited to get for a long time now. It was really fun to sort of, as I said at the start, get back in front of the camera and actually show off what we've got. And as I hinted at the start, we've got plenty more of things to show you guys. We've got so many cool editions from Arrow Video and all those other companies that have got. We've got some cool new box sets, some out of print ones. Yeah, it's just great editions, and we've got like a whole bunch of videos planned over the next couple of months where we're going to showcase all the new editions we've gotten. So yeah, look forward to that.
I guess one of the blessings of this sort of forced isolation is that we've got plenty of time to catch up on these movies. And so I can't wait to get stuck into all of them. Aside from that, I hope everyone's staying safe and staying healthy. Thank you very much for watching.